Hey, I'm Jono.
And I'm Ian, and we are Bike Gearheads, and we are going to review the Specialized Crux.
Yes, very light gravel bike.
Very light gravel bike. This is a bike behind us that I've rode quite a bit, but you also own a Crux, so you'll have a lot to offer to this video as
absolutely.
well.
So I guess now we should talk about where the Crux falls in the Specialized lineup.
Yep, so the Crux is a gravel bike, like I said, but they do offer a couple other gravel bikes. They offer the Diverge, and then they also offer the Turbo Creo, which is their gravel bike.
Okay.
And the Diverge and the Diverge STR are a little more, I would say, like progressive geometry on the gravel bike scene, so it's going to be a little slacker head tube angle and just kind of a different ride that has in-frame storage as well and stuff like that. So the Crux,
and they have suspension kind of built into those.
Yeah, the suspension is built into them as well. Like the STR is the one that has like the actual suspension you can see on the top tube, where it basically doesn't have the top tube going all the way to the seat tube, and it like a little bit of travel there. Yeah, and so a lot of built-in compliance on those for sure. And this is not that. This is more of like their lightweight gravel racing bike, and it is very lightweight. The other thing I want to say about the Crux is the Crux started out as a cyclocross bike, and there were a lot of people back in the early days of gravel that would ride that particular bike, but the UCI tire width on that, the limit is 33 millimeters, so that's kind of what they were restricted to. Obviously now they've got a lot more tire clearance on the Crux, and they've redesigned it completely. You could definitely use it for cyclocross if you wanted to, but this is a gravel bike. Yeah. But it was inspired, and the heritage comes from the Crux of old, which is a cyclocross bike, and then also the other bike that they took a lot of inspiration from when they designed this one was the Athos. The Athos is their lightweight road climbing bike, so this looks very similar to it. You can tell by where the tubes are and stuff like that. If you look at that bike, it looks very similar, and it performs similar too.
I think as you saw with less people doing cyclocross in America, they're kind of just going to a gravel, longer events, and I think Specialized just kind of followed that trend and kind of redesigned it around that.
Yeah, definitely, and they did a great job. It's an awesome bike.
All right, so let's dive into some tech specs here. You were on the 54. Let's run through stack and reach. So what's the stack on this bike?
Cool, yeah. So just to back up just a little bit, I'm 5'9", and I have a 30-inch inseam. So if there's anybody out there that's my similar size, 54 is probably good for you. The stack is 560 millimeters, and the reach is 388 millimeters. Yep.
What about head tube angle?
Head tube angle is 71.5 degrees. And the seat tube angle, you're probably gonna answer that next.
Yep, seat tube angle.
is 74 degrees.
All right.
And for those out there that don't know all the numbers on all the different bikes, this does put it firmly in like the gravel racing category.
Yep, not too slack.
Not too slack. The trail is a little bit shorter. It's definitely more responsive in the turns and stuff like that than some other gravel bikes.
So let's talk about its main feature, being its lightweight. What is the frame weight on this thing?
So the frame weight on this is 725 grams, and that's for a size 56, and that is without fork.
And that is the S-Works.
That is a good point. That's the S-Works. Yeah. And just to compare that to another bike in their line, would be like their S-Works Tarmac SL8. That one is going to be 685 grams, so 40 more grams than like their lightweight, not lightweight, they're all-around road racing bike.
Yep.
The Athos, which is the lightweight one, is actually super light. That's like, it's like less than 600 grams, I think.
Dang, super light.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Too light. So I noticed I see some cables out front. With a lot of new gravel bikes, we're seeing fully internal. This one is kind of a mix of the two.
Yeah, definitely a mix of the two. I mean, the cables run more traditionally. This one behind us is built up with Axis, so there's no derailleur cables, but it does have the brake cables, and those run traditional to most bikes. So if you want to change your bars or your stem, or you want to make it higher, give it more stack on the front end, sure, go ahead, do
Lots
it.
of flexibility
it's easy for at-home mechanic to work on. It doesn't have split spacers, or you don't have to cut your cables to do anything. You can just work on the bike, which is really nice. Really nice,
especially for travel, or if you're trying to do different events and you want different setups for different events, it makes it easier to do that.
And on the same sort of thought as that, it has a threaded bottom bracket, BSA threaded, so as traditional as it comes.
Nice.
Yeah, easy to work on for a home mechanic as well.
This one has a 27.2 seat post, which again, traditional, and you can run a dropper post if you want to, has that ability.
Yep, it's nice. And the seat post that's on this is the Revol Alpinist seat post, super lightweight seat post, and that comes with the frame.
Speaking of drivetrains, this bike has been around for a few years, so it does not have a UDH. So if you want to run mullet setup with the new SRAM transmission, you will not be able to. So is that a limiting factor for you?
It wasn't a limiting factor for me, but it would be nice to see that. No, it didn't hold me back though. I just, I did pick out the parts and stuff, and I did the custom build on this bike, so I just did, regular access on it, which was great. But it would be nice to be able to run the transmission, and it would be nice to be able to find a derailleur hanger in any shop I go to.
Yeah.
So limiting, not really, but would it be more convenient to be UDH? Sure, yeah. Okay. That'd be nice.
What about tire clearance on this bike?
Yeah, so the tire clearance on this bike is pretty good. I mean, I know you were running yours, and we can talk about that in a second, but the max is 700 by 47 or 650B by 2.1, which is pretty much like a 50 mil. And you rode that. I didn't ride that on this one. How did that feel for you?
I have ridden that. So I had 650B wheels laying around. So I put on some 2.1s, some ground controls from Specialized, and it was a tight squeeze, but there's enough clearance. It's a little concerning if it was muddy, would not do it, but you can, and it's super plush if you go off-road with that setup. It feels like a 90s mountain bike. I know a lot of people say like gravel is just like reinventing 90s mountain bikes, and with that setup, it sure feels like it, and it's really fun. So if you want to play around with that, you can.
Yep, I never did that. I ran it in this configuration, and it was super fast. And then the wheels on this one are the new ones from i9. So they have the Solix hubs on there, and they were incredible. Yeah. I loved them. And if anybody's ever rode around on i9s, they make a great noise when you're on the trail or on the road.
They're buzzy.
They're very buzzy, which I personally like.
It's nice to have the room for clearance for up to 47 in there, and kind of gives you the flexibility of running really whatever tire you want. And a lot of people are going wider on gravel, and 47 is pretty wide. So yeah,
it is pretty wide. So I ran in with the 40C tires, and it was great. Super fast. Super fast on the road and the gravel, which was good. And it was going downhill, it was good too.
So what color options do we have in this frame?
So the color options that we carry right now is going to be, wait for it, it's a mouthful, satin white sage, cactus bloom, midnight shadow, speckle. And that's one color.
Oh, is that what that is?
That's what this color is.
Okay. I mean, it's got a lot of colors on there, so it makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Specialized does offer some other colors, but this frame's been really popular, and they've sold out of some of them and stuff like that. So currently, this is the color that we're carrying behind us, but I personally love it. I went with the gold chain and the gold cassette, and kind of played with everything. The hubs are orange. It's kind of one of the coolest looking bikes I built in a while.
Yeah, very colorful.
Yeah.
Which build did you ride? And how did you spec it out?
All right, so it is just frame set, S-Works Crux, that's what we have. So if you wanted to purchase one from us, which is a great option because we have a lot of parts in stock, and a Gearhead can help you custom build it. So I went through, picked our parts out, built the bike up, and this is what I ended up with. This bike did come out to be pretty premium price point. I think it's over 10K if we were to do retail, but we could definitely get the price lower than that and still have an awesome build. Yeah, so the Gearheads can definitely help out with that. You could even do like some Apex stuff on it, or Rival. I mean, whatever level you want. I mean, it is a pretty expensive premium frame set, so a lot of folks will pair that with the top end components, but you can do really whatever you want, and our Gearheads can help you out with that.
All right, what drivetrains are compatible with this frame?
So you can do a 1x and a 2x, but if you go to the 2x setup, you may run into some issues with tire clearance since the front derailleur and the battery are there. They say 42C is the largest tire that you can run. Okay. They don't say anything about anything in the 650B configuration though. Gotcha. 700 by 42.
For 1x, what cranks did you go with?
So it's the red cranks back here, and this is the 44 tooth.
Non-wide?
Non-wide, exactly. So if you went with wide, you could probably get a bigger one in there. The 44 tooth is pretty close. You might be able to do a 46.
You can. I got a 46 on that in this clearance. It's minimal, but that's what they say.
Gotcha.
You can't go any larger than a 46 with non-wide cranks.
And then if you go wide, you can go a little bit wider. And then in 2x, you can go from 46.33 all the way up to the 50.37. Yeah, quite a few options. Yeah. On this one back here, I did take the front derailleur hanger off. So there's just some bolts that go over it, and you can take them out and put it back in. Yeah, it's removable.
Let's talk about how this bike rides. How did it climb?
It climbed like a dream, like a feather.
Yeah.
This bike's extremely light. I mean, when you pick it up for the first time, it's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy light. We've been seeing bikes getting heavier and heavier and heavier lately. It doesn't seem to affect them in the races. They're still going faster and faster and faster, but I like having a light bike, and when I lifted this thing, I was like, wow. And it climbs like crazy. Not only is it light, but it is responsive. It's stiff in the bottom bracket and the head tube, so it transfers the power really well. And the way the geometry's set up, being a little more racy, it's fun to get over the front end, get out of the saddle. It feels like a road bike, kind of.
Wow. It seems pretty impressive because if you look at the bottom bracket area, it is tiny. Like, there's not a lot going on down there compared to some other bikes.
Yeah, and there's definitely compliance in the frame, and like I would say I rode some other gravel bikes recently that, you know, if you look at some of our other videos that are out right now, definitely stiffer in the bottom bracket, but it didn't seem to hold me back, or I didn't feel it. It didn't feel like a noodle.
Yeah, no, I have the same feeling about mine. It is small tubes, but somehow it is stiff enough. You don't feel like you're losing efficiency. But when you do ride some other bikes that are stiffer in that area, you do pick up on it, but it doesn't always translate to being a really faster bike.
Yeah.
I think the lightweight of it makes up for some of that. If you do lose some efficiency, you're pushing less weight, so it's kind of a trade-off.
Yeah, and like the lighter weight climbing bike, S-Works, sometimes that high modulus carbon can be really like pingy, and this didn't really feel like that at all. It absorbed the, you know, chatter in the road really well, where there's some other bikes that we rode recently, like I mentioned, where the bottom bracket might be a little bit stiffer, but man, you feel it when you're going over those gravel roads. Like, it's harsh. So this feels nice. I think it's a good balance for sure.
So how does it descend?
Descend's great. Yeah, it was awesome. You know, it descended down gravel roads great. I also rode it on the road quite a bit. It's a great road bike, actually.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun. Descended well on the road and the gravel. You know, it is maybe a little bit more of like a race geometry, so the front end does seem to be a little bit twitchier, so you kind of are sometimes correcting yourselves in some of the turns, or sometimes, you know, the gravel, you'll kind of be surfing across it and it'll kind of push you around a little bit. You definitely feel that a little more with this. I mean, it is a shorter wheelbase, it's not quite as slack, you know, chainstays are a little shorter, the trail on the front end is a little bit shorter, so it is definitely a more responsive bike, which makes it a little more twitchy going downhill. But It did it fine. You know, I got my weight over the rear end and it felt great. The frame really does absorb the chatter really well, so I didn't feel like I was getting bucked off my line very much. It's just a more responsive bike, really.
Yeah, so I think it's really comfortable on chattery roads. You know, there's the thin seat stays that really takes away a lot of chatter, and then having the nice traditional seat post, nothing aero there, so it's great. So how does this bike compare to other bikes you've ridden?
So it does climb the best of any gravel bike that I've ridden in a while. There are some others that come to mind, like the Haka was another one. There's a lot more harsher ride, but that climbed really well. This one climbed really well, like that bike does. So I really liked that. It was very comfortable. Definitely absorbed the chatter on the gravel roads really well. So I felt like I could really pedal it long distance and really put the power down. So yeah, compared to other bikes, climbs really well. Maybe doesn't descend as well as some of the bikes that are a little more slacked out, but all around, if you want a race bike, this is gonna be a really good option for you. I would say like maybe an Aspero 5 might be another one that would be a good option, but yeah, this bike is really set up for that.
Yeah, I think if you want something more aerodynamic, you may want to look elsewhere. It's not, you know, it's just traditional tubing in a way, so it's not gonna be the most aero, but I think being lightweight is really important for a lot of gravel races.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I didn't think about that. There definitely are some better aero gravel options. But
and if you want like fully internal routing, you know, can't get that with this. So some people really love that look, and having cables out front is a deal breaker for them. So, you know, there's that as well.
One thing I will say about some of that stuff though is like, sometimes on gravel you're not going quite as fast as road, and then also as far as like ride quality goes on an aero bike, like I don't think it can compare to something like this. Like it's really tuned nicely.
Who's this bike for?
I think this bike is for somebody that wants to race gravel races. I think that's great. Like if you're going bike packing or adventure riding, bike packing specifically, I probably wouldn't purchase this bike. If you do want to go on long adventure rides, like it is pretty comfortable for that. But you know, you may want something that has like in-frame storage or a place for like a bento box on top or something like that. This doesn't really have that.
And just beefier tubes.
Yeah.
Those rear chainstays are pretty small. Like if you're loading it up, I'd be a little concerned, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a strong bike, but I see where you're coming from. If you want something that's like going to be an awesome race bike that really performs well for gravel, great. But if you want something that you can get a second set of wheels for, or like run some, you know, narrower tires and ride it on the road, do that too. Like it's pretty good. I don't think there's any bike out there that does it all, but this definitely leans more towards like the high performance, like racing stuff. So if you wanted like a road gravel bike, this could be good for that.
I don't have a road bike right now, and I just have a Crux for doing gravel and road. And I think it's not a bad compromise. Climbs really well, can handle the group rides, no problem. So I'm really happy with mine. All right, you've been talking a lot of talk about how light this thing is. This thing better be like 12 pounds.
It's gonna be more than 12 pounds, but it's going to be pretty light. All right, Jono. 54, S-Works Crux.
No pedals.
SRAM red.
No computer mount.
XX1 Eagle.
Carbon bars.
Carbon wheels.
Carbon cranks. 16 pounds.
Okay, I'm gonna put it in the 15. So I'm gonna go 15 pounds, 14 ounces.
All right. Oh, 16 pounds, 1 ounce. I'll take it.
He nailed it. 16 pounds, pretty much on the dot.
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
Yeah.
That is very light. 7.23 kilograms. So yeah, you could do some less deep wheels and get it even lighter.
Yeah, you could get a little bit lighter, but this one's built up. There's also some aluminum bars on here.
Aluminum bars. Oof.
Yep.
Yeah, you can get this in the 15 pounds.
You
no
can get
problem.
it into 15 for sure. Thanks for watching. This is our review of Specialized Crux. Awesome bike. If you like this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, if you have any questions about this bike or want to build up one for yourself, just let us know. We'd be happy to help you out. See you out in the gravel.
See you out there.